Hello. Hello, my dear friends. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. So we really like to invite folks to come. Oh, a little loud. M. I'll turn this mic down a little bit. We really encourage folks to come on as close as possible to the readers. Sit on the floor, lay on the floor, stand, do whatever makes your body feel comfortable. So yeah, we're gonna start in 2 minutes, but don't be shy, come close. Let's make this an intimate reading, but also, yeah, do what feels good. See you in 2 minutes.
Wait, are we not starting?
In like 30 seconds now.
You had mentioned in the, many emails that were bouncing around. You were like, oh, it's been 10 minutes, but you should do long, whatever. And so, but I'm just going to go like, nobody told me. I'm just going to feel it. Is that bad?
It's not bad, yeah, no. I think that, like, there's indeed...
Nobody said. I mean, except for you. Who's in charge? Are you in charge? Are you deciding on who's deciding on what?
I think it's a collaborative.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, most of these will be about 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes, and then we're going to have, at the very end, kind of just a real soft Q&A with everybody. I would love it if you guys want to be a part of that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so, yeah. 10 easy minutes for you. Yeah, totally. If that's less, great, but it's more, but that's fine. No one's gonna, like, if it was like,
Really, the only question for me is like, should I set a timer so I'm not rude, so I'm not being bad or something?
well, you do that. But yeah, I think like,
I don't want to be an asshole, but I also prefer to not have time.
right, then just mental block 10 to 15. Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to introduce you. And so thank you for saying the vibe.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. No, I just, I wanted to make a kind of a nice title for the occasion. And, okay, perfect.
Well, the mic is feeling the mic is feeling super hot right now.
Yeah, if you moved it a little farther from the corner, I think that would probably help. But it is kind of a mystery as to why it's so.
Last time it wasn't like that. I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit.
It's a small space. You really don't need
much. Yeah.
And I would just move it, move it out a foot or something.
Exactly.
And I'll probably.
I was gonna bring Whitney over here to be like, bring you down. The music is here.
No, I know. Can you just give me a sign when to move it down? Great. Okay. is it time? Okay.
Hello? Hello? Okay, so it's been about 30 seconds, and we're going to start. Before we start, I just wanted to, one, say thank you for showing up and being here for all these amazing readers. My name is, I guess I'll say a couple things. My name is Timothy. This space is called Common Area Maintenance, and we really strive hard to be a resource for the writing community. And so thank you for being here to kind of manifest that and show your support. I couldn't be more excited to have Anne be here tonight. Anne, Quenton, Rebecca, and Lori. I'm going to go ahead and let Rick, who is so sweet, do the introductions, but just as a member of this community, it feels so incredible to see everyone here. This keeps sinking down. I don't know what's happening. So yeah, that's fundamentally it. We're a collective art space. We always ask for support where folks feel like jumping in and giving. Right now we're looking for folks that want to volunteer to help build out this new space that we're activating down the street, building a new independent publishers bookstore, building more creative space for artists. We're building a reading center and educational center for our community. So if you want to get involved, come say hello. I would love to meet you and love to put you to work. I'd love to bring Rick up.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one that challenges tonight. Anyone trying to buy a book for a while was having trouble with me managing that. I think we got that smoothed out. But to follow and first thank Timothy for his part along with with here for sponsoring this. I knew that doing this, that was my little moments with the thing. But also to say that when Anne came to us and said, this is the night the book comes out, it's the day, and I'm on a plane the next day to New York, that meant this had to happen today. And we already had something booked. I mean, that was the first, because of where I work, the first thought. But then the next thought was, what about here? And Anne went, oh my God, you're right. And it's been a delight to work with Timothy and everyone else involved. And some of the things Timothy mentioning, what's in the works. I mean, we have in this room many people who in various ways work with the most independent of presses, or write with the most independent of presses, which include the work Anne has done leading into, in and around the book you're going to hear from tonight. So the first part I'm going to do, though, is say a few words about Rebecca Brown and Quenton Baker, who are going to read first, and then Timothy will come out, because then we're going to shift modes entirely for a moment, and then I'll come back out when Anne is up here. Rebecca Brown is here, and tonight marks a few things, because I don't know when she'll get to read at Elliott Bay and when I'll get to say this otherwise, but she verified something I was wondering about, which was that it's 40 years ago that her first books were published in England. So it took... It took a few years for the U.S. to begin publish her, and for her to read at Elliott Bay, which was in the very early days, which is just about 40 years ago, of doing so. Many times over the years, and I mentioned to her tonight, back in those days, once Rebecca read for more than about 15 minutes, you'd hear her native Texas come out in her voice. I may not so much having 40 more years come along, but maybe we'll find out. She's written, I believe it's 14 books of all kinds of forms and substances, in a sense that they take on different narrative forms. And she's also published sort of widely with the most national of publishers. Again, her first books were published in England, and her most recent book was published very much here by Chapman Books. You Only Tell the Stories You Need to Tell, which came out a couple years ago. and there is another book in the works. But that's not all Rebecca has done in her work, and which includes now doing a lot of visual work, art, and to be mentioned in here is all the work she's done in the community. She was the first real artistic director of the Jack Straw Writers Program, something that feels so entrenched now. And she also, I believe, was part of the old Stranger Literary Review, which Matthew Stadler and Stacy and others who were here had a real hand in. Probably the most concerted, extended, ongoing place where writing about writing and books happened in the city, and something that's dearly missed now. So Rebecca will read first from whatever she's going to read from, and then she'll be followed by Quenton Baker, who I've had the pleasure of introducing a lot in recent times, and he'll be in fact at LA Bay in support of Jane Wong next week when she receives a Pacific Northwest Booksellers Award for her recently published memoir. But she, like everyone, it's good to have a group with you, and Quenton is generous in doing that. He, of course, in a working relationship with Anne, he and Paul, who is here, did one of the books in the second cohort, as they're called, of the third thing, where Paul had his the banana with the brackets around it, and Quenton's piece, We Pilot the Blood, which took later form in this extraordinary book that was published by Haymarket called Ballast. The other thing to say about the book that the third thing did with Paul and Quenton, and we don't actually have copies. There's the one book of that group that we didn't have tonight because it sold out, and we've got it coming back in. But that book also included a wonderful little piece in the middle with Christina Sharp and the artist whose name I'm forgetting, who's also in Toronto, Kwasi Dyson. That also helped set apart. This was more than a book. This is, again, something Quenton and Paul had a hand in, but certainly Anne and Christina Sharp had strong praise words for Quenton's own book, Ballast, which came out. And so let's now hear from Rebecca and then Quenton, and then Timothy will be back up here to say a few words about Laurie. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Cam. I'm so thrilled to be here as an artist. I've been here a lot recently as a student. I took a zine making workshop led by Jess, our famous rock star Jess. Wonderful teacher, amazing space in the back for the print shop here at CAM. I can't recommend it more highly. And I'm sure by popular demand, Jess might be persuaded to offer another zine making workshop. Maybe. Anyway, it's what a pleasure. I love the CAM as a place by artists, for artists, the invention, the liveliness, and it's really what we need is communities coming together and making art. So anyway, so I'm here to read tonight in celebration of Anne's book. I'm thrilled to be invited. It's a big deal to have this book out and to be with New Directions, and Anne kindly offered to have a launch party here in her Northwest rather than, what's that city over in the other side of the country where they publish books? Anyway, so it's wonderful to have this community to celebrate one of our own. So there's that. So I'm going to read two pieces. Anne, whenever she was putting this thing together, talked about themes of monstrosity and how we might have those in common, the readers here this evening. So I'm choosing to read a piece from a small press of mine that came out a couple of years ago. It's kind of, sort of is about that. It's the book is called Not Heaven Somewhere Else. It was published by Tarpaulin Sky. It's called The Mermaid. I'll read I've got about 1,000 words to read in two pieces. The Mermaid. She wanted to be what she was not. She tore apart a part of her. She made herself not speak. She wanted, oh, if only, who would love her? She made herself breathe differently. We do not breathe the same. Some breathe in water, some in air. A dictionary says this of a fish: a limbless, cold-blooded vertebrate animal with gills and fins and living wholly in water. She wasn't that. She wasn't half. Oh, what could she be now? Sometimes she can't tell things apart. Things don't make sense sometimes. She wanted to be remade anew. She made her fish nor fowl. She gasped and gulped and tried to hold. Can someone be what she is not, or hold what can't be held? Could someone love her? One time from far away, she'd seen a prince. She saw him on a beach or throne or horse or something she could not recall. He'd waved to her, she thought, but had or had she not waved back? She wanted to see him in the flesh. She wanted to see him forever. But she couldn't tell what had been seen or only hoped. Was she a fool to hope? For who, oh who, could ever love her? Her mouth hurt with the want of him, his body and his blood. She hurt with hope and was afraid. Would hope now be the death of her or life? She waited on a rock. Her mouth was dry. The sun and waiting dried and burned and turned her like a leaf. She couldn't breathe in or out of it, nor speak, nor swim, nor cry, was neither fish, nor fowl, nor girl, nor body, nor blood, nor he. She flopped like a fish who couldn't flop. The sea washed up. The sea rolled back. Some junk was on the beach. Though papery like a leaf, it oddly stank. A part of it was torn apart. Oddly, he gave it a burial. I believe this is something. So that's The Mermaid from Not Heaven Somewhere Else. I also wrote, I think a mermaid's kind of an animal. For my zine class, it's a monstrous animal, obviously. For my zine class, I wrote a little piece called The Goose, and Jen taught me how to fold it and cut it and print it. It's a fantastic story. It's really, really great. It's really unbelievable and memorable. But I'm not going to read it to you. But when you come back on May 10th, CAM is participating in the Belltown Art Walk. And when you come to CAM on May 10th, not only can you access this fantastic, phenomenal, great zine, you can also see other great zines produced by Jess, by Whitney, by Natasha, by Matthew, by other folks who took this class, and just kind of come to CAM on May. Okay. There you have it. Okay. I also made in that class another little zine, which I have this is literally the only copy of it. I've got some other papers at home. And it's got a little pig on the cover. And this one's called The Body. But I wrote it for the zine class and then for a creative writing class I'm taking on Zoom. I love being a student again. I'm such a pig. My office is a pit. It's behind our house in the garage we converted for me. There's papers and books all over the floor. The desk and the two tables are piled with papers and books and CDs and covers. Newspaper articles and magazines, cat toys, knickknacks, paper clips, printer ink, rubber bands, bike leg things, pens, pencils, old mail stuff. I can't remember the last time I dusted or vacuumed or put anything away. The blanket that covers the couch is on the floor. There's boxes of books supposedly on their way out. The computer is up on a box and there's unplugged cords. I have no idea where they go. When the pandemic started, I thought, okay, now I'm finally going to clean this up, but I couldn't. Then when I retired, I thought, now really is the time, but I simply could not. The cat can always find some place, like a spot by the window where there's some sun, or on the back of the couch behind me. But sometimes she goes somewhere I can't find her. The other day, I thought I found an old shoe of mine, but when I started moving the papers away to get it, it was two, and they were attached to socks and jeans and a sweatshirt. It was a body. "Hello," I said. "Hello?" It was white, I think, and old. It was hard to tell. I touched it. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't exactly cold. More like something you took out of the refrigerator to warm up a while ago, but also like something else, like if I touched it hard enough, it would turn into dust inside the jeans, but it didn't. "Hello," I said. "Hello?" Its eyes were closed. Was it asleep? Was it alive? I didn't want to disturb it, so I got the blanket from the couch and tucked it around its shoulders and back and hair, but not its face, in case she wanted to breathe. I called the cat, "Come here, kitty, kitty," and made that noise the way you do. The cat came over and sniffed a little, then walked away. That was so different from the time when she found the baby squirrel in my office, and she batted and chased it around. I rescued that squirrel from her and raised that squirrel until she was old enough to leave. I really loved that little thing. She was lying between a bookshelf and my bike and behind a couple of boxes. Useless stuff. Well, not the bike. You might get a couple of $100 for that. There was light gray or beige stuff on her clothes and skin. Was it dust? How long had it been there? There wasn't a smell like anything gross or organic. Maybe something somehow oddly clean, a smell of stillness. Her hair was a mess, but nothing worse than bedhead. I thought I should clean her glasses, though. They'd fallen off her face and were halfway open. I picked them up very carefully and went and got the glasses cleaner I keep on my desk. That's one thing I know where it is. I sprayed on the spray and wiped them with a cloth, and then took them back and laid them down carefully closed so that she could see them if she woke up. "I'm tired," I heard. "I'm tired." I didn't see her move her mouth, but I thought she was saying it. "I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired." Her eyes stayed closed. Did anything move? I got down beside her to wait. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for asking me to be here, and it's a pleasure, and congratulations to you. It's such a good book. If anyone hasn't already purchased a copy, you will be shamed later. So, nobody wants to be singled out. Luckily, given the theme of the evening, I'm writing a book about monstrousness, so I had a lot to choose from. The interesting thing about monsters, one of the interesting things about monsters, is that they are limitless receptacles for justifiable and righteous violence. There's nothing you can do to a person or a thing deemed monstrous that can be considered wrong. You can starve them. You can put them in a tiny box and bomb them from far away. You can do anything. So this collection is really about what it's like to love and live in a body that's considered to be monstrous. Omen, black moon Black fog, black earth in mid-yawn, roof rattled by malevolent wind, a whisper in the thicket that sounds like neck bones being washed. Black lake, black flies, black forest of black pine, a groan in the graveyard, a pensive mass of stilled crows, black blood, black rose, black smoke pouring from black lungs. Piecemeal or whole, every inch of skin is sin as presage. Black vest, black rifle, black death, black reminder pulled from the ground as ash is bone to dance in revival. Black cliff, black vines, black ocean of black slime, a ram birthed with a single horn, its head split to divine the origin. When the blood is wanting, my body, the stain, dirt dark hollering, my lips, your neckline, touch embeds what causes fear. Despite the horror of this clay, we make language out of lack, hum it all into flame, burn it all to burn with you, ashed against the stone. The body precipitates fault. A shore without memory is a shore. Me without skin is an answer to what a human is not. My veins alphabetize when they meet open air. Marrow unfurls into pure data. My foreign rutilant organs are pulled and reversed like tarot. There is a message in me that honey's at the ear. It whispers from behind my abdomen to those who like to reach, to take. It is buried in the lake of my belly. It promises validation. Who could resist? Who could fault the righteous for one small vivisection? Look at my allure, my hideous silhouette, my wolfish lope begs for the poetics of suture and cut. I must be pieced apart, laid open like a river, because there are worlds in me, black and displeased. Their stars play in my snarl, and for that, they cannot remain. When the blood is wanting, the ideal corpse recalls sheets. Our dead names thrum like two cenotaphs. Collapse is endemic to us. The captor, the colonizer cannot survive our rage, black and boiling, gaunt goddesses of halt. We end when we say we end, consent given to the dark. Black moon. I am not chaste. There are no modest beasts. And I, a wretch, a devil, a feral siren hunt under an absent moon strictly for the taste. I like it when you hurt. Gourmand of fear, my palate attuned to the savory notes of whimper and bleat of a ripely futile why. I am full, and the dark is almost up. So I will answer your questions. Yes, there is hunger in the dirt. No, there is no song in the bone. Yes, there is surrender in your throat. No, there is no weight to the heart. Yes, there is sweetness in the lips. No, there is no film in the mind. Yes, there is memory in the eyes. No, yes, there is a map beneath your skin. Yes, there is lace in your collarbone. Yes, there is summer in your throat. Yes, you are a canopy of leaves. Yes, you are an unbroken, emergent coastline. Yes, I want to touch you. I want to touch you differently from this. I want to find the exit in our blood. When the blood is wanting, blood marks our time in gravestones, in proper English. Atop monuments to absence, we remain full. We brim with pleasure. We fill our tongues with dew in the lakes our bodies form, glacial prehistoric melt to arrest the earth in wonder. The dawn crushed until your light is all that is left. Urge. I am simply a frontier, desired and repulsive, feared yet even my outline glamours. Cut the flower but chew the thorn, bathe in soured fruit, gourd in it, drink until the innards harden. A bestial jungle missive, Primitive salon of dirt and topaz, the wonder at the color and array of my breechcloth is solid enough to jump crow upon. A bridge to and from a certain hell that I know well enough the feel of, with my eyes closed, in the dark, urging the earth to pick up speed, to tilt enough to blur, to abstract me, smear into imperception, make me invisible to the imperative. I am tired of what people want, what they hate. Desire a stake that holds me rigid from hole to cloven hoof, disdain the rope that keeps my killing hands tight beside my flank. I appeal to whatever wretchedness will loosen me, to any hungering hollow with room for my offering. Look at how perfectly this column of flame burns in my sternum, how clean I am, how free I am from complication, how bright it becomes when I open my jaw to swallow. When the blood is wanting, my body, the ideal corpse, blood marks the stain, recalls our time in dirt dark sheets, gravestones hollering our dead names in proper English. My lips thrum atop your neckline like two cenotaphs, monuments to absence. Touch embeds collapse, we remain full. What causes fear is endemic to us. We brim with pleasure despite the captor, the colonizer. We fill our tongues with dew. The horror of this clay cannot survive in the lakes our bodies form. We make language out of lack, our rage, black and boiling, glacial, prehistoric melt. Hum it all into flame, gaunt goddesses of halt to arrest the earth in wonder. Burn it all to burn with you. We end when we say we end. Thank you.
Thank you so incredibly much. Quenton, who is one of my favorite human beings and readers. Rebecca, who I couldn't adore more. Thank you for being here. I have the absolute pleasure to introduce Lori Goldston, who I've known for a good number of years, and I get to read a little bio that she sent me. But also wanted to say that it's such a pleasure to introduce her or talk about her with my friends and or people I meet, and so oftentimes they will say, "Oh my God, they have inspired me for years. I'm in love with them. Please introduce me." I'm a fan. No, you're helping. Well, I will say one thing, actually. Well, let me say this. You're. Then this is whatever. No, Lori, I feel like their music and art, like, just is inspiring to be around, and so consistently. And yay! Hi, friends. We have a young violinist that is very excited to see you play tonight. The first time I really had dinner with Lori, this is my one anecdote, is that they were like, "Oh, do you need shoes? Please come follow me out to my car." And we went out to their car, and they pulled out a giant pair of like solid gold shoes for me to wear. And I was like, my love for you keeps growing. And I'll never forget that moment, and thank you for being here.
ready to move to this part. But as leading into talking about Anne for the book she's written, I have to say, I want to say a few words about the Anne de Marcken that many of us have gotten to know. I would think a significant number of the people in the room through the work she's done with The Third Thing. She and Allison, who's here as well, up from Olympia, because what The Third Thing has done as a press can't be talked about enough, and it's had only a few public occasions that I know of in Seattle. Some of that because, of course, it rather auspiciously was born in 2020, and said we did these 4 books, and I don't think anyone, our bookstore didn't know about them until late in the game. These books, which are a series of extraordinary works, collaborations between artists and designers and the writers, and then what happens within the writing and the forms of acknowledgement. These books all have land acknowledgements, and Anne is one of the people that's really carried that sense of presence and knowing where she is, the land she's in, on. I have a feeling that as we are here tonight on Coast Salish land, the Duwamish, in a few nights there'll be words coming from her, because this is not done as much in the East, about being a Lenape land in Manhattan and Brooklyn and elsewhere. She travels around the East. So these books have all carried that. I know many people in here have written in these books and had other hands. I think Rana was involved with the time-based, I'm not even sure what you call the film. It wasn't a film, but the poetic form that was part of this year's group. This year's group included a wonderful book of stories, a wonderful book of poems, and a book that I brought up here because this really has not been talked about enough, this critical edition of Cain. Also because Jean Toomer is the one Third Thing author not, in a sense, alive. And that it was launched at in Seattle at Wanawari a few months ago. Quenton is one of the people whose work is in it, as is Bettina Judd of the Seattle group. And by critical edition, obviously, we all have seen some of those books that have stood a certain test of time, and usually it's a nice big book with some extra commentary. What happens in here, there is a copy of Cain, Jean Toomer's book. It's in the public domain, beautifully done, and I left out the name of Barbara Earl Thomas, who actually is the artist not only for what's on the cover, but also the other printed books that were done by The Third Thing in this year's group. But the critical part are a series of cards, and all these incredible array of people, Quenton, Bettina, and others wrote or made notes about some other aspect relating to or playing off of what is in Jean Toomer's Cain. This, that Anne and others kind of somehow conjured, and it's an incredible, remarkable thing. So we brought that here tonight as well. All of that was in a way did and didn't set up for me what the experience of what Anne has done with this book. It lasts forever and then it's over, which is, again, today is its publication date. Anne and I were writing a lot about a lot of things for a period, and then she said, well, I have written this manuscript, and would you be interested in reading it? And it was something like that. It came out, or I got it out of her, sure, send it. And I'm sure many of you know, if you pick up most books, there is language saying what you're reading. You know, this darkly comic, this, whatever. But it's all there on the book, and you can sort that out and make it what you will of it. But you get a manuscript. There's nothing telling you what it is, and so I printed it out. I don't remember if I told you, because I can't read these things on my computer. And this Anne that I knew was suddenly, who is this? Because this voice had Anne in it. I could sense this, because we talked about some serious, wide-ranging things, but it had this other element to it that was really hard to describe, and it was just so, like I would read 10 or 12 pages of it and just like, whoa, because it is a voice that is has a human aspect to it, a deeply human aspect, but the voice is of a person who's not alive, and the voice is not always human. In a way, tonight also sets that up, because you heard the very human voices of Rebecca and Quenton, and you got to hear the other than human voice of what Lori did to hear our hearing, because this book has, in this narrative, all of that. So I'm could not say as much about all this because you're going to hear Anne. But the making of this book also was funny because part of my reading it was to help Anne brainstorm about how are we going to get this in the world, like finding an agent, finding a publisher, just those kind of mundane seeming things, but they really matter. And I was going to try and figure out how. And meanwhile, she says, kind of offhand, well, I sent it into this contest or this pre-publication thing, and writers do that, and you never get them. At least far as I know, no one ever has. But you send them off, like those things with a cereal box or whatever, and win the contest. And then there was actually a little version of this at AWP. It took a minute to figure out what was going on, but unbelievably, it won. Not unbelievably in terms of what the book is, but in that kind of like wow of the magnitude of it. It won this prize, a fiction prize, that's shared by the three presses in their respective countries. Are the places most people would die to put because they're ennobled and firm in what they do and believe in. That being New Directions in this country, Fitzcarraldo in England, and Giramondo in Australia. And they share this publication prize. And actually, this prize is shared with another book this year. But for Anne she ended up, she's with a publisher she would have wanted to be at. And the way the publishers do their books enlists, you open the little catalog or the online version of the catalog, and here is this extraordinary Australian writer, Alexis Wright, who is Nobel Prize likely someday. I mean, he's an Aboriginal writer with these huge novel of epic scale. And then there's the newest Anne Carson. But the friends at New Directions were bemused that I was more excited about Anne de Marcken. I said, well, Anne Carson, great, but Anne de Marcken, here's Anne's book. And all too true. So, and I know the people in New Directions are good friends, and they'd be friends to people here. They would love being here. But they're so delighted and excited, and that Anne's book is now in the world, and literally is in the world. And the other, without trying to make this too much about my own little stuff, Fitzcarraldo's books really travel around, and they're published in England, but I sent Anne a picture. I was in India about a month ago, and there's a bookshop that had all these display of all the Fitzcarraldo covers, which are these distinct blue, very plain blue covers, as the fiction ones are. And I actually looked, and it wasn't there. But I said, Anne, in a year, if I'm back here in a year, it lasts forever, and then it's over. We'll be there, and we'll send that picture then. She's going to do whatever she does with this because this is the beginning, and I've never gotten to hear. Anne has written a little fiction before, but this is the most full voice thing that she's done, and so we're thrilled and we're delighted. We're so glad you're here with us all to share it. And now, Anne, your turn.
I was just having such a nice evening. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Quenton. Where is Lori? Thank you, Lori. Snuck out. And thank you all, really. Thank you, Cam, and thank you all for being here in this space, which really is, it's a beloved space of mine. I've been to many great things here, and there are many more to come. Couldn't imagine a better place for this book to start its journey into the world. It started its journey into book form a long time ago now. So thank you for being here with me for this new part of its life, or afterlife. So I think I had a couple different ways I might do this, but I think I'm just going to skip through the book. So I'm going to read a little bit. The book is divided into 7 parts, and you can't really read any section and know what's going on. So instead of reading the whole book, I'm just going to read a little bit from all the way through. And I don't think there's spoilers. I think it's a little, you can't really know. I don't think there's any way to explain to set you up for what's going to happen. I haven't done it before. I haven't read into a mic from this book before, so Thank you. We'll see how this goes. You can let me know. And I think we're going to talk a little bit afterwards. We're going to have a little conversation about monsters, maybe, monstrosity. Okay. I lost my left arm today. It came off clean at the shoulder. Janice, too, picked it up and brought it back to the hotel. I would have thought it would affect my balance more than it has. It is like getting a haircut. The air moving differently around the remaining parts of me. Also, by turns, a sense of newness and lessness. Free me. Undead me. Don't look at me. Isn't it strange that I never knew a single living Janice, and now I know 3? I stay in bed all day. If I lie on my right side, I can keep the arm balanced as if it is still a part of me, or I can pretend it is your arm and that you are in bed with me. I think about how we used to take a blanket into the dunes and wrap up together, wake with sand in our hair and in the corners of our eyes. Sound of the ocean, big as the sky. I miss sleep. I miss you. Mitchum says I'm in denial, that I'm depressed because I'm indulging in a sense of loss instead of wonder. Embrace your new existence, he says. I picture myself trying to do this with one arm. When I was alive, I imagined something redemptive about the end of the world. I thought it would be a kind of purification, or at least a simplification, rectification through reduction. I could picture the empty cities, the reclaimed land. That was the future. This is now. The end of the world looks exactly the way you remember. Don't try to picture the apocalypse. Everything is the same. There's a certain suspense. Will I find the dog ear? Mitchum holds up a coffee cup. It is a regular cup. This cup, he says, this cup can be whatever I say it is. He looks at it there in his own hand. I expect him to transform it with a magician's flourish into a bouquet of bright flowers. This cup is the body. This cup is the soul. He pauses. I expect him to drop it. He looks at us. Therefore, he lets the silence hang there. Therefore, the body is the soul. We all look at the cup. I never trust it when someone says therefore. But what about the cup? I say to Marguerite later. I want to know what happens to cups in a world of metaphors. Is it more true that a cup is the body and the soul, or that a cup is a cup? I know a cup when I see one, but I'm no longer sure about the body, and I never knew anything about the soul. So, therefore, maybe I shouldn't be so sure about cups. Marguerite says, none of this is real. I say, that sounds like something Mitchum would say. She shrugs. Some of it is real. Everything is still. I lie still at the center of the hunger that is actually grief. My hand still on the knife, still in the dead girl, still on top of her, still lover who is still alive and still unconscious or paralyzed by fear. Everything is still. The living, the dead, and the undead. I press my cheek to the girl's naked back like it's the cool tile of a bathroom floor, like it will soothe. But her skin is slick with blood, and I turn my face and lick. You always said I was inconsolable. Mitchum is wrong. We are just like the living. Hunger is only ravenous hope, a mirage always receding. The black swarm behind my teeth. There is no bottom to this well, no dark place to wait it out. Nothing will ever touch this craving for you. How long before we let ourselves know what we know? I find I have stopped. I'm standing in the road. The sky is light in the east. The moon is in the west. It is perfectly round. I am not thinking anything. I am just looking at the moon. It is silver and flat and serious. A wind comes up to me in the empty morning like someone I've met before or seen before but don't know, and a feeling comes over me. It is sadness. Not a sadness, but sadness, all of it. The whole history of sadness. Everything in me is sad and everything around me is a part of it. The cracked pavement, the moon, the abandoned cars, the gravity that holds them to the road. It is total. I am taken or taken down. I drop to my knees. And then the feeling passes, leaves me. I look for it in the moon, in me. Nothing but a new sense of the same empty. We're about halfway through the book. It's a fast read. I am lying on the ground between the two trees. I lie in the same position without moving. The crow is lying inside of me, just as motionless but more alert. At first, I only hear the birds, and when they are not there, I think it is quiet. But after a while, a long while, I think, I notice that I am having an idea instead of hearing. And when I notice the idea, I instantly stop having it. Like when you are not very deeply asleep, and you become less deeply asleep because of a click in your brain. And then you are suddenly aware you were more deeply asleep than you knew, but also aware that even now you are not yet exactly awake. Once I stop having the idea, I realize it is not quiet at all. Sometimes it is very loud. The leaves are loudest. They crackle and hiss and make a high sung sound. The dirt is loud too, always sighing. Not a tired sigh or a wistful sigh, not resigned, but almost, if resignation could be resolute. I feel as if I am holding on to something, to the edge of something or to the end of something. Everything is going so fast, the light coming very quickly and the dark too, the planet spinning and me pressed here on its surface. Every moment is the moment I know I'm not going to be able to hang on, about to slide off over and over. It takes all my willpower to not let go, and at some point I decide it doesn't matter, so I do let go. But I was not actually holding on to anything, so the feeling does not go away. Then I have the feeling of needing to let go, and the feeling of having let go at the same time. This is what it feels like to be undead. And this is what it felt like to be alive. It is night in the gazebo. I'm going to be sick. I sit up and heave over the hole's terrible edge. The black swarm hurls out of me. It pours over my tongue and out of my nose. It comes in waves. I think there can't be more, and there is. It seems like one continuous thing, an endless liquid body coming out of my body. I realize it will never end. I will always be vomiting. It will turn me inside out. I will vomit until I am gone. I don't know how long it goes on. When it is over, it is absolutely over, but it's hard to believe. I lie back. I wait for it to start again, but it doesn't. After a while, I can hear again the specific noises of quiet. I look for the hunger, but there is only absence. I feel for the crow, and I find its empty space. I am at last bereft. I pretended everything would be okay, because it seemed impossible to always be saying goodbye. To blueberries, to the ocean, to ravens, to pelicans and plovers, to the cormorants, to the sunlight on the living room wall at 4 o'clock, to the sound of you in the next room. Night comes. Everything is bigger and closer in the dark. The stars are very thick. I understand finally that the sky is not above me, but that I am in the sky. This is related to the crow, and the crow is related to the baby, and the crow is related to you, maybe the way the baby was related to you, not through blood, but through me, through a particular shared longing for increase. We wanted more of each other and more life. We were adding on a baby to the house of our love, like a sunroom, but made of wonder and fear and time and denial. It was the future. We pictured ourselves living there, all the imaginary firsts, and the world going on as if it weren't already too late. It wasn't really as if the baby died. It wasn't even a baby, really, not yet. I don't even like to use that word and wish there were a good alternative. It was more like the future died. It became part of the past. Time inside of time, things inside of things, the crow inside of me, the mouse in the belly of the trout, the belly of the girl on the golf course, things that ache, real things and unreal things. It is pointless to wish I had the hunger back instead of this endless grief. Okay, last one. I used to imagine how it would be after you died, the way my days would go. It wasn't bad. I would have had so much in having you, and would have lost so much in losing you, that I would no longer want anything. There would be more time. I pictured myself moving through the quiet house. I saw myself in the garden, my face, my back, my hands changed by not saying anything to anyone day after day. I saw the sheets I would wash and hang out to dry and fold and put away, the short showers I would take, the short hair I would have. I would put on the same clothes every morning and hang them on a hook every night. I was an old woman who looked like an old man. When I would leave the house, I would take my solitariness with me. I would roll down the grocery store aisles, neither fast nor slow, and put only a few items in my cart, not worrying about the cost of the cheese and sometimes buying 8 of the same frozen meal. I would make no chit-chat with clerks or retired neighbors. Sometimes I might accept a dinner invitation and I would bring a gift for the host. Sometimes a young couple new to the block, sometimes an old friend who had known me with you. But it would be a relief to everyone when I left without fail at exactly 8:30, making no excuses. I realize now that when I was playing these silent movies of life after our life, you were still there. You were sitting with me, the two of us alone in the theater, still together. This sadness is not an empty church and not an empty house. It is the whole empty world, and I am in it, and it is in me. Well, I guess I'm kicking this off. So I did, yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I would, I've been writing a monster book, so I think a lot about monsters. And actually, Quenton and I were having a conversation uh, December, years ago in December, about monstrosity, and it made me want to extend that conversation. So I asked Quenton if they would join me, and then Rebecca, and then Lori. And and so I have a question for us, and you all are welcome to ask questions. But I have a question that I'm wondering if we could talk about, which is really just how you. I'm curious how you think about monstrosity and monsters, especially in relationship to us. Yeah. So I think about monsters. I started writing this book when I was teaching with Jennifer. And our students would not stop talking about zombies and Harry Potter, actually. And I did not get interested in Harry Potter. It was too late for me. But I did get interested finally in zombies. And so, because I think monsters are a reflection of ourselves and of our time, and I got curious about what zombies say about us. So that is sort of my entry point to monsters. But anybody can pick it up.
I try to keep it brief because there's a lot to say. Could one could say that. Um, I think that for me, it's I'm interested in the way that society, human, this one in this hemisphere and in the world broadly, requires monstrousness. The way that the project of the human abandons its claim to the ethical because it draws a line around what is human by what is not human. And what is not human gets attributed to humans that are deemed subaltern, othered, animal, bestial. Um, so for me, it's like it's informed by my life. Uh, People have encountered me as monstrous since I was first encountered um, as a small child. Uh, so I think that I'm interested in my lack of interest in being considered human. Um, because why would I want to join something that considers itself capable of determining who and what is human? So that's the divide that I'm interested in the way that monsters occupy the hinterlands of like the borders of what is and isn't considered to be human.
Anybody want to follow that?
Um, I think a lot about uh, monsters and monstrosity, both in a uh, kind of a mythical context and also a very practical daily context. Um, Partly in terms of the imagination and a kind of untamed quality that uh, is very beautiful, and then also, I mean, I'm thinking often about this line of dehumanization that is a default for all of us, and where that is, and sort of trying to maintain awareness of it and trying to not have it as a reflex, like a way to examine where that is. There's enormous amount of, I feel like we're, faced with addressing this line constantly and in a very acute, totally inflamed way at this moment, like increasingly inflamed way. And so it's very like beautiful and terrifying both, I think, to be thinking about this line constantly for myself and moving it around. Like there's this kind of continuum that goes on forever with the kind of imagined monstrousness, and then there is like a constant line in humanity inside us, and to sort of like keep that moving, keep that in play, keep kind of be questioning that every day.
So when I hear the word monster, I think of monster movies, which I really loved as a kid, and wrote an essay about loving monster movies for Christopher Zola the Stranger many years ago. And I also think of the word monstrous, and when you think of the word demonstrate, to show something, or in Catholicism there's a thing called the monstrance, which is, it goes on the altar, and it's this shiny container that holds the Holy Host. It's like showing something big, right? And so I think, what does a monster show us? Like a monster's like a laser point of like, what are you trying to show us? And when I think about those monster movies I loved, it was like Dracula. It's like, we're scared if we don't know if something's alive or dead, right? And like in my little story tonight, it's like, is that person alive or dead? Is that person me or not? And so it's like, you're not quite sure if you're alive or dead, and clearly that whole alive or dead thing is in your book. And then Jennifer's students, like zombies, are they alive or dead? Like, tell me what category you're in. Like, what are you? And or when I think about the creature of the Black Lagoon, it's like, you'd be great if you were a fish or a human, but you can't be both. Like, and you don't fit anywhere, right? Or it's like, I'm a human, but I turn into a wolf. Like, and this thing of like, your boundaries have to be really clear, and they can't change. And if you change, that's something really creepy, and you're not predictable, right? We want to keep our categories straight. And I'm actually a big fan of categories for some reasons. But seriously, and just in like literature, it's like, I'm going to the beach. Give me something to read. Don't give me Emily Dickinson's collected poems. Give me, so categories have a purpose. But monstrosity is kind of like, you're in the wrong category. And one of my favorite books is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's kind of like, okay, is that a human or is it a thing? Is it one person or is it many? Is it alive or is it dead? Was it born? Was it made? It's like, it just doesn't fit in there, right? And then 10 years ago, I mean, the trans conversation's been going on for a long time, but 11 years ago, it wasn't as prominent as now. Anyway, so I did this one-woman show at Northwest Film Forum called Monstrous, and it came from Mary Shelley's the Frankenstein movies. And one of the things that those of us of a certain age, just saying, you'll remember in the Gay and Lesbian Parade, there was always a group of women called Women Who Were Mistaken for Men in Public Restrooms. And it was like, and women who were just like, hey, we're just going to have this face on, right? And it's all these kind of boyish looking, and it was like, women, and isn't that funny? But it's also like, it was hard, right? Like to go into a restroom and somebody, get out! What are you doing? Like, seriously, do you think I'm here to cause, and this kind of monstrosity of the ways that certain lesbian women look, and then just expansive, like, are you a man or a woman? Like, what, are you from somewhere else? Like, you're not really white, but what are, and just that kind of like, what are you? And how that troubles people. And the idea of like wanting to know something, why, so we know what to do with it. And so the mantra is like something, on the one hand, it shows us who we are and what we're afraid of, but also it's kind of like, what do I do with you? Oh, now I know I burn you with a stake. Oh, now I know I keep you out of this bathroom. Oh, now I know I enslave you, I kill you. Oh, now I know I don't, I purge you from my committee. And so there's something about monstrosity that we're drawn to for like, help me figure things out. And then we're also condemned by figuring out who isn't correct. Anyway.
Yes, Jennifer.
Jennifer Collins, people.
Yes, woohoo!
Scientist.
Attorney. Please.
I think you're all, there's ways you're all kind of working and weaving in and out of this. And Anne probably knows where I'm going to go. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Now I know. Yeah.
One of the things that I love so much about Anne's book and also about Anne is that we connect over the more than human world. So, and I think the line of human is both, and what Quenton mentioned about, like, if we can identify who's human, then we can also identify who's animal. And then we can ascribe the things that we want not to associate with ourselves as animals to the humans that we have considered non-human. But what I'm, and so I'm, I also have ADHD. Learned it recently, but that's why I'm all over the friggin' place. My main question is, how do you think about that piece of it? Like,
Human plus?
human and other animals, and even extending out to living, non-living, as in the entire organismal world that basically we all share a relationship with, since we all came from whatever collection of enzymes and RNA whenever, billions of years ago, because that is very much part of this, what is happening here, and also very charged. And the other thing I'm thinking about is, the living versus non-living viruses are right there, and so it also feels very like interesting to me that what you're talking about, are you alive or are you not, these outer reaches of beingness. So I don't know if that is useful, but
It makes me think a couple things about, certainly you already brought up, are they alive? Are they dead? As a question, I bring that up. But the first thing that popped into my head actually was the poem that you read from, that where beast is claiming beast. And this idea of the category, the vast category of non-human that needs to exist so we know where to expel the monster once identified. So there needs to be this sort of pool of other that we can, as you say, attribute the non-human traits to, so we can cast out into that space. And in my book, it feels like I found this place that I'm looking for in life all the time, which is an indeterminate space. It described it at some point in the book, like the space between end and beginning. That's the like this some kind of corollary to middle, but without resolution. So it's a place of external of existence, of being outside entirely, not in that pool, that generalized pool of other that to which you have been cast. And relating to that, what you said about not, I mean, once I have been made monstrous, why would I want to be other than monstrous? To have been made in that form, why why would I want to be the maker?
Yeah, I think like there's like two things that makes me think of. One, I fundamentally don't believe in human as like an ontological category. To me, it feels like the cops investigating themselves. Because historically, like if you look at any way that human has been defined socially or sociologically or whatever pseudoscience existed at the time, like skull shape or the length of the occipital, like whatever, it's fucking ridiculous. And like currently, the IDF considers themselves extremely human, and the way that they're currently asserting their humanity can only be described as perhaps the most monstrous thing many people will see in their lifetime. So I have zero faith in the category of human. But also, like Anne, what you just said, even more than that, even more than once I've been made monster, why would I be anything else? It's once I've been considered as monster, why would I have any faith in the concept of making? Because I know myself to be whatever it is that I am. So if I'm being made into this limitless receptacle for violence, how can I trust the process of making? Because look what it's done to me, the people that I love, the communities that I'm in, and the communities that I'm connected to. Then I have to become not even just distrustful, but like the concept of making them becomes anomic. It becomes untethered to any sort of logic outside of terror.
Follow-up question. What instead of making, as a person who makes things?
Being, I think, stands as like an alternative. And also, I mean, it's not all making, but the audacity to think that you could make a category of being, to think that you could make a determination on who lives and who dies, who's a slave and who's a master, who's like, to think that you can have that level of control. I don't consider those things to be part of actual making. So if that's what making entails, then I am against making, but the making that I've encountered and have been a part of and involved with feels altogether different.
Problem with words. Yeah. Yeah.
I need to learn Urdu or something.
Yeah.
Part of my reaction was that what you're talking about is especially a problem for language and for writing. It's especially a problem when what we're making is words. And so many of the kinds of violence you describe are implemented by the usefulness and the applicability of words and their power to do that thing that they do. And one, it reminds me of Rebecca
One thing I've thought about a lot recently is the use of music and the culture around music being thought of as a way to sort of, as like a kind of a rewind to sort of find the moment at which people felt a need to separate things out and to separate humanness from other things, and that's like a very problematic moment. And maybe there's a way to sort of like find the moment before that happened. Maybe music is an entry point into finding that moment where humans decided that we're separate from nature, or we're separate from other humans, or that there's like a very sharp need to find that. Like, I mean, I'm not really like a nostalgic person by nature, and it's not really like a nostalgic impulse. It's more like where was that, like, where did that left turn happen? Like, what was that fork in the road, And so I've been thinking in terms of the past more in that way of just like, what, where was that inflection? And where did it take us? And, how can we sort of send it off in a different direction?
Laura, when you were saying, like, where did, going back before something, and where was the left turn of the inflection point? So maybe, as a musician, like, maybe our trouble began when we invented language, right? And it's like, that's what separates us, allegedly. It's sort of a comic point, but not really. But the other thing about, like, I'm curious about this idea of, like, and I'm sure I'm going to misunderstand you or misquote you, Quenton, but this idea of not claiming humanness, like, as a category, because humans can be so awful. And I think about, when we're talking about monsters and stuff, I'm also a big fan of fairy tales, and you think about, or we talk about when did humans become so different from animals or whatever, but you think about a lot of fairy tales that are transformation stories, and it's about a human encountering a monster, an animal, whether it's Beauty and the Beast, or whether it's the Frog Prince, or whether it's, and the peaceful resolution is to kiss the monster, right? And so that the human and the animal embrace, and then they kind of return to a peaceable relationship between human and animal, or see through what you feared about this other life form. And you could say, yeah, but really the story is like a human who's disguised as an animal. But I think those stories speak to a longing to return to, a peaceable kingdom in which we were speaking the same language prior to a language in which, mammals gathered in warm caves. And so I think there's something about humans trying to make art about kind of where did we go wrong, but also how can we get back right? How do we kiss the frog? How do we embrace the beast? How do we bring what we killed back to live with us? So I think there's something about that which we've shunned. How do we renew our circular love with it?
Timothy?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, actually, like, is there a moment when there's traditional form that you shunned? As a musician, I kind of, maybe it applies to everyone here, but like Lori, as an example, you were classically trained and then found a moment to dismantle that and kind of like live in it, that liminal space between what can be considered traditional and what
That's a great question. Anybody know the answer for yourself?
I think, and this goes to what you were saying also about language. Like when I first went to get my MFA, I was studying under Annie Finch, who is like, I don't know, if you made a mountain out of poetic forms, she would be sitting at the top in a weird marsh, like making spells out of obscure Welsh forms. She really likes forms, is what I'm trying to say. So that was like the beginning. Form and meter was the beginning of my like formal poetic education, and like I learned all of it and studied it, and I don't like to say mastered it because that's weird, but I became familiar enough with it to feel competent. And then, but immediately I began to jut up against the restrictiveness of received form. Even that is hilarious. Like, from whom would I want to receive this? And then also up against the limits of language, because like the forms that I'm coming to, whether they're English or French or like these are essentially colonial constructs in a colonial language. So I'm coming up against such a well-trod and well-worn field of language with so much associative weight to it that I felt like I was suffocating. And so then for me, my poetic practice became about, well, how can I create what feels like to me a new lexical field, free from all of the semiotic agreements, discursive agreements, and like sort of semiotic arrangements that essentially constitute death, because that's what colonialism is for the people who aren't doing the colonizing. So all of that is wrapped up in English for me. And so then I can't, so many words are polluted by death to the point where if I want to write and not reinscribe that, or reify anti-blackness, or reify this type of trauma, then then I have to become experimental. I have to become, in the long line of the Black radical tradition. Like, it's not, this is not new. Like, this is, as long as people have been writing, this has been how people have responded to writing and working in English.
Well, I've never felt like I had to shun anything, and I always had a very expansive sense of music. And I mean, I have kind of, I've maintained a very naive sense of about music, so that it's, it's just it's like a very expansive thing, and it exists in this like weird cloud high above human existence or something. So for me, it's like I've had a lot of curiosity about it, and that's sort of been the driver, more than feeling like I needed to leave anything behind. I don't feel like I've left anything behind ever. I just feel like there's always like more to see, and that, that's like extremely nourishing on, many planes. So I was I don't know, yeah, I just have, I've managed to keep this very dreamy, idealistic view of it. It just exists in this, and so, and then it's and then there's some obligation to sort of use it as a tool for expansion of thought and ways of thinking about things, and that's kind of an obligation to that's of, so I always think of being that's part of the deal with being a musician, is that you kind of like have all this access to these different ways of thinking. So
and that you have to just like go after that in the most expansive way possible. That's my mission.
Good mission. It's a good mission.
You go. Is there a moment
Of what?
where you broke from form, from tradition?
I
mean, you incorporate a lot of traditional forms.
Well, yeah, but I mean, formally I do, but I must say that writing as an out lesbian in 1981 was it's kind of like, but I didn't start off with a sense of mission or I must do this. It's just pure emotional necessity. I never studied theory. I never this and that, but only later did I gradually realize, oh well, that's why your work isn't going anywhere, is because I'm just writing about my life, but I certainly didn't start with a mission of I'm going to tell the truth about who I am, and I'm going to turn the world upside down as much as I cried on pages about my broken heart and how, it's like, oh, that's not fun being an out lesbian in, the late 1970s. And I think many women in that out lesbian writing in the 70s, the quote innovations were in content rather than form. And then my sort of just writing the way I wrote was kind of like, oh, actually, Christopher and Jake and I talked about this the other week on a podcast. Over the years, it was just like I wrote as if I was writing letters to people, hence IU narratives in the early 80s. But I didn't come from a theoretical construct as much as a sort of personal need, loneliness, and there we are. But the more I studied literature, the more thrilled I became when I first read Kafka or Borges, or said, "Oh my God, you can do this with a story. Oh my God, you can do that." Or when I first read Kane, just like, "Oh my God, you can do that with a book." And so the sort of joyful discovery of writers that were like, "Oh my God, I can do that." It's almost like meeting someone who said, "I will help you along. Read some more of my stories, and you'll see that you can do this thing too." Well, what if I did that? Yeah, go for it. So it's like finding fellows, finding ancestors, or finding movies that meant something to me, even though I didn't know why they meant what they meant to me, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
How about we make this the last answer? Questions afterwards, if we want to talk amongst ourselves. How do I answer this question? I don't remember a particular moment that was like, oh, this isn't working for me. I need to make up something new. But it did feel like the received forms were not working for me. And it didn't, not like, oh, that's a bad story, I need to write some other kind of story, or that's a bad poem, I'm gonna try sonnets. It felt more like I think I've said things like about genre fiction, like I'm sure that I have said this. I recall myself saying, apologies to romance novelists, that I wish I could write romance novels. They just seem to like whip those things out. And it was like, surely I could write romance novels, and then that's how I'd make my living. I would be writing romance novels, and it seems like it should be very easy because they're formulaic. Again, with apologies to the romance novelists in the room, I cannot do it. And I think the reason I cannot do it, and this is maybe the moment of discovery that I didn't recognize in that moment of discovery, is because the form does not serve what I want to say. That I haven't found a form that serves what I want to say when I want to say it. I think when I have something to write, like I had this book to write, I get a feeling. Before I have something before the feeling, but eventually what I get is a feeling that guides me through the work. And I have to sustain that feeling long enough to finish the work. And there is, the feeling is sort of what I hold up against every word and every image and every page break and every choice that I'm making. And those choices, I feel like I have to invent them every time. I'm not holding them up against an Act 2 crisis and saying, you know, I don't know which happens. I don't know how that form can precede the feeling. The feeling precipitates the form required to express it. And so I think it's every moment I'm writing that I encounter the need for some new form. Right. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you. Is it off? Is it off? Is it off?
Oh, I forgot to say, we printed a bunch of prints.
You printed some prints. Don't leave without a print. Oh.
Hey everybody, we made some free prints to celebrate Anne, so come buy a book and grab a free print. And thanks for showing up. Yeah, take one. Here, will you help me pass them out real quick? Oh, you're back.
Won't you know that love is bad? So put your little hand in mine. Love comes back, skiing down, climbing down to the floor. Best of all worlds I know, but still afraid to look. Where do you go? Is where I go already. Won't go, no, no. Is where I go already. Love comes back. He ain't sad, it's not a crime. Once you know that love is right, put your little hand in mine. In the soft energy, we are away. Intelligence in the air, it's winning me again. Intelligence in the air, it's winning me again. That is too soft. Weaving in the moonlight while you are there. Oh, it's rising in the moonlight when you are there. It's rising in the moonlight. Love comes back. Being sad and crime. Once you know that love is bad. Being sad is not a crime. Once you know that. Skiing down, climbing down into the fall. The best of all worlds I see. Still afraid to look. Where do you go?
Call on my friend, 'cause I'm gonna miss you. Call on my friend. The world is full of misery. And the road you've taken, there's no end. Call on my friend, come back to me. Call on my friend, 'cause I'm gonna miss you. Hello, call on my friend. Where do you think you're going to? On the road you've taken, there's no end. Call on my friend, come back to me. Call on my friend, 'cause I'm gonna miss you. Call on my friend. The world is full of misery. On the road you've taken, there's no end. Call on my friend, come back to me. Call on my friend, 'cause I'm gonna miss you.
I left my little brown-eyed Jane. I left my little brown-eyed Jane. I left my little brown-eyed Jane away out there. I left those brown eyes a-crying in the rain. 'Cause she was fickle from the start. 'Cause she was fickle from the start. 'Cause she was fickle from the start. She broke my heart and now those brown eyes are crying in the rain. Don't leave me, darling, was her plea. Don't leave me, darling, was her plea. Don't leave me, darling, but her pleading was in vain. I left those brown eyes a-crying in the rain. Once I was happy with my Jane. Once I was happy with my Jane. Once I was happy with my Jane, but now we're through. I left those